Hi, hello. What is good on the internet? What is good in life? My name is Akeem Bobby Samuel Balaam, aka Long Island 495 from YouTube, now for Urban Radio Nation, and just want to say thank you to all the fine people at Urban Radio Nation for giving me this opportunity to write and blog for them. They must have seen a lot of my YouTube videos. You can see them as well at youtube.com/Long Island 495, as well as my Twitter page, which is, or rather my Twitter feed, twitter.com/Balaam Samuel. That's my Facebook, facebook.com/Balaam Samuel Bobby Akeem, and my Twitter handle is at LI495 Akeem. I recently had that change at the beginning of the year, but that's not important. Let me stop promoting myself. But I just want to say thank you to everybody at Urban Radio Nation for giving me this opportunity, and let's get right to it. Enough of the self-promotion. Let's get right to what's going on. And what I wanted to talk about this time was what has been going on, in my opinion, in the radio landscape in Houston, Texas. You know, Houston has a huge black community. It's around 17%. I think the city of Houston is around 17% black. Now it's probably around 35 to 40% Latino, which I referenced in my article that accompanies this here video. But there is a huge black population in Houston, and the thing about it is that unlike some cities in the north like Chicago and Detroit, where seemingly the black population is moving out, blacks are moving out of those cities, African Americans are actually moving in to cities in the south. You know, Atlanta is the most obvious choice because Atlanta is like black Hollywood in many ways, but there's also Houston, there's also Miami, which is 20% black, and there's also Charlotte, which has sort of around the same percentage of African Americans living in that city. But Houston is one of these cities in the south where blacks are moving to that has a growing population, especially among the black community. And you would figure that if Houston has a huge black population, you would think that there would be a lot of African American oriented stations on the radio, i.e. urban contemporaries, urban adult contemporaries, mainstream urban stations, even rhythmic top 40 stations that lean in the urban direction. Not quite, to tell you the truth, because there are only two stations in Houston, two mainstream stations that appeal to the black population. There's KBXX 97.9 The Box, the mainstream urban station in H-Town, and then there's H-Town's urban oldies urban AC station, Magic 102, which features Tom Joyner in the morning. 97.9 The Box, of course, has the Mad Hatter Morning Show in the mornings. But those are the only two stations, and they're owned by Radio 1, which is the largest owner of urban African-American stations in the country. I believe they own 53 stations overall in total across the United States of America, and 50 of them are targeted at the black community. I think only 3 are not. I think there is 98.9 Jack FM in Columbus, which plays more adult variety hits, mainly classic rock and alternative. And there's also Radio Now 100.9 in Indianapolis, which is a top 40 CHR station. There's also a third. Which until back in 2011 was also an African American targeted station. And it's in Houston, Texas. Oh, the irony! So there's 92.1 also in Texas at KROI, which I talked about in one of my YouTube videos. KROI 92.1, which changed formats back just last year, from Urban Gospel, Praise 92.1, also Yolanda Adams in the morning. They changed that format to News 92. An all-news station, because Doug Abernathy, who is the vice president of Radio 1 for Houston, was saying that they were losing money on both of their Houston and Dallas clusters, so they wanted to change it up a little bit in Houston. Then you need a change. A change will do you good. But they felt it would do good for Houston, and they changed over to news, and they featured a lot of personalities on that station, including a former morning show that was once on KTRH 740, which for a long time was a news station, is now more of a news talker. There's a huge difference, obviously, between the two. But they changed formats over to News 92, and they moved the Praise format over to 102.1's high definition 2 feed, which the main signal obviously is Magic. So they moved that station pretty much to save Magic, or at least that's how Radio 1 tried to spin it. And it got a lot of backlash from a lot of people in the Houston community. Again, that 17% black population certainly going to Radio 1 and say, huh? Come again? You dare take the word off of the air? I ain't listening to News 92. Maybe they will, but I don't. We got to see what the ratings for the new station are going to develop over time. But here's the thing about Houston radio. You have all these, even Dallas, more stations than Houston, more black stations than Houston, and even Radio 1. Those are the only, for the time being, black stations in Houston. And the thing that I looked at is that the two stations between KBMX and KMJQ, they're Arbitron rated number 2 and 3 in H-Town. Only Clear Channel's adult contemporary station, Sunny 99.1, is higher on the Houston ratings than is either The Box or Magic. And Sunny is always going to be at the top of the ratings. They are a ratings gold mine. They're one of the largest adult contemporary stations in the country. Christmas or no Christmas, Sunny's always going to have high ratings. But the thing about that is that when I was looking at that interesting statistic, and the fact that they're number 2 really, because neither one of those stations have any competition. There's no competition for Magic, and there's no competition for The Box. You can say Hot 95.7 all you want, but I think their competition is mainly KKHH. Their call letters are KKHH, but I think their competition for the most part really is 104.1 KRBE, which is leaned in a more adult CHR direction anyway. So Hot 95.7 is not competition, even though they welcomed a lot of listeners from the old Party 93.3 and 104.9 over to that station when it changed. And that used to be 97.9's main competition. Party 104.9, then they moved over to 93.3. They tried to plug that it had a 100,000 watt signal, even though it was it was closer to Beaumont than it was to Houston. So really, there's no real competition for 97.9 The Box, and there's a lot of backlash in Houston at The Box because of the whole Trey situation, the fact that they banned Trey from the radio because of an incident with a co-host on the Mad Hatter Morning Show, and they banned him for the radio. He filed a lawsuit against Radio 1, Doug Abernathy, and KBXX. So there's a lot of backlash. There was a lot of backlash to that, and that's why I think with all that together, the high ratings and everything else, that's why I believe that Houston needs probably 1, maybe even 2 more stations. They need a competitor for The Box, a real competitor for The Box that really is in the community, is really committed to the diverse hip-hop community of Houston, Texas. Because I think that an urban hip-hop station in Houston, Texas can not only just feature the black artists that have come out of Houston, but also the Latino artists. But so I think, sort of a localized version of the old Party 104.9. So I think that can happen. And if they go at Magic hard, maybe Steve Harvey in the morning, because he's been outrating Tom Joyner in many cities. If they can do that, getting competitive to Magic in there, sort of like what's going on in Dallas with 105.7 and 94.5, then I believe there will no longer be a problem in Houston as it has right now, and they will indeed have the black population of that city covered. But do you think so? Do you live in Houston? Do you believe that there are not too many stations that serve the black community of H-Town, Houston, Texas? So what do you think? What is your reaction to this? Hey, you have opinions? You know where to put them in the comments. Once again, thank you, Urban Radio Nation, for giving me this opportunity, and I hope to do more videos like this in the future and talk with yous on the internet someplace. So until next time, I'm Akeem Balaam. Once again, what you think? See you on the internet someplace.